Hey, this is Dr. Newman again, and I wanted to get to some stuff about the first third of Beowulf, lines 1 to 1250, that we didn't manage to discuss yesterday so that we don't fall behind. Um, First of all, you can see in your screen this cover of this comic book, I think from the 1970s, based on their maybe early 80s, based on the art style. Um, Brownie points for everyone who can point out which elements in this cover are not derived from the source text, the Old English poem Beowulf. I can tell you that there are some innovations in this treatment of the source material. I've never read this myself, but that cover's pretty boss. What I do want to do is just go over in a little bit more detail some of the things that we talked about a bit in class yesterday, just to kind of set up tomorrow's discussion. The discussion that's going to take place on Wednesday, August 30th, is going to focus more on the role of women in Beowulf and the role that what role do women have to play in this heroic society. So we're going to end off in this hopefully short video with introducing some concepts for discussing that. This is a list, once again, of key passages. There we go. Of key passages, I think, from the first part of Beowulf, the coming of Grendel, the place where we meet Beowulf and hear his first speech, and the discussion by the Coast Guard of wisdom and fortitude about how a hero should be strong in speech and deed. Here, in line 425 and following, we hear Beowulf give his boast that he's going to solve Heorot's monster problem. He's going to defeat Grendel, and since Grendel doesn't fight with weapons, he says at line 437, "I'm not going to fight with weapons either, I'm Beowulf." And then he gets his first challenge, the flighting that I told you about from this character Unferth, which some suggest that Unferth, he isn't just some random jerk saying, "Hey, who the hell do you think you are? Are you Beowulf that lost that swimming contest?" He's actually, some believe, somebody who served a kind of ritual role in the court, in the society, that there would be a somebody whose job it was to sort of verbally challenge and defend people. Somebody who kind of plays a similar role to a court jester in a way, which in the Renaissance would also sort of serve to dress people down and make people see if they can stand up to a verbal challenge. We see this role reproduce itself in different cultures too. Anyway, he challenges Beowulf, and Beowulf, he stands up to this challenge successfully, not only justifying his losing the swimming contest, yeah, I killed a lot of monsters and saved all these people, but also counterattacking and showing that he's not somebody who's a pushover. And then everyone feasts and they fall asleep, and the monster attacks. Now, one of the things I'd get you to pay attention to here is how much language in the description of the monster attack is not about violence or action, but about perception, about reaction. First of all, the focus on the monster is that if you looked at line 726, if you have your text in front of you, that'd be best, because I didn't prepare an elaborate slideshow for this. But he talks about the baleful light, the flame in his eyes. I'm looking over at my notes there. That's what I keep looking at. So the fight, interestingly enough, between Beowulf and the monster is actually focalized through the monster. That is, it's sort of told through the monster's perspective. I'll come back to that word about a focalization, about whose perspective is given privilege in a narrative. So much of this fight is described through Grendel's thought and perception, though. He discovered at line 749. He recalled at line 757. At line 761, he's desperate to escape. At line 781, we hear the fear of the Danes and what they saw. So everyone's kind of, the monster, the other people, they're all sort of looking at Beowulf doing his thing here. And what's interesting from lines 8:13 to 8:15, we get a kind of symmetry between the monster and the hero. As long as either lived, he was hateful to the other. And what this suggests, and what a lot of people writing about Beowulf have talked about, is that Beowulf is something other to the human race. That he's a hero, he's this legendary hero, he can swim for miles in armor and kill all these monsters, he's the biggest, he's the strongest, he's the best. And in this way, it sort of puts him beyond the boundaries of ordinary human society, of ordinary human capability. And in this sense, he is monstrous himself, that the hero is a kind of monster. And this is, of course, a theme that we see in, heroic narratives. In the 21st century, cinema, of course, has been dominated in the mass market by heroic narratives, superheroic narratives. And it's a constant theme that they go back to, is the similarity between heroes and monsters and what makes a hero a hero. Of course, we can go back to that idea of wisdom and fortitude, of thought, speech, and deed. All right. I think that's a good place to stop at and for a short video. And I guess what we've basically summed up here is the first part of this story, where Beowulf has his first fight and he tears off the Grendel's arm, and everybody is happy about that. And we're going to come back and talk a bit more about this in a bit.